Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we are unboxing Necromunda Ash Wastes. Now, for longtime followers of the channel, this video is going online on a different day of the week than we usually do. That's simply because of the fact that this actually arrived after our normal recording time to have it available online in time for the pre-order. And so this was sent by Games Workshop to us for the purpose of this video, and is currently available for pre-order, and this coming Saturday will be available for normal release. Now, last I heard, in the US orders are now, for the pre-orders, are sold out, but I would expect that they're going to have some available on actual release. But also local shops should have copies as well, because they typically put in orders. I believe, my understanding is they usually get like a week ahead of individual pre-orders, but that I'm not certain on. That will differ between those shops and their relationship with GW, I would assume. But so let's go ahead and get this open. Now, the price last I saw was $300 in the US, and I've been seeing some complaints about the pricing. Honestly, I don't think it's that unreasonable based on what I've seen so far. Once we get into it and take a look at everything, I'll definitely have, I'll definitely share my thoughts then. But compared to the Dark Uprising box that they did, it's not completely out of it's not completely unreasonable, because that box was $290. It gave you essentially two new gangs that we didn't have before, the Enforcers and the Corpse Grinders, and this one gives you the Nomads and a new group of Orlocks that we haven't had before. So, kind of surprised me that we're going with a classic gang with with some vehicles and things like that. But we are at least getting one new gang, and so let's get in there and get started. Now, this box is considerably heavy. I would say that it's even heavier than the Dark Uprising box was, and and it's only $10 more for the kit itself. Now, with Dark Uprising, you had Zone Mortalis, I believe it was, basing, and then terrain that actually fit with that as well. And with this, it's completely different terrain. It's designed for the Ash Wastes themselves. So right off the bat, we have two matching sprues. These are for the structures themselves. Now, what I really like about these is that not only is the outside detailed, the inside is detailed as well. And I mean, right off the bat, because of the detail, I'm willing to bet that this is designed for you to take the lids on and off, so that way you can actually fight inside the buildings as well. So that's pretty cool. And like looking at the inside, the outside doesn't have a lot of detail overall, which honestly doesn't surprise me, considering with the lore there's a lot of storms and stuff that would wear that stuff down. But the inside does have a ton of detail. So that's pretty cool. So we'll be checking that out here in a few. Then we have two more of the same sprue again. Now, this is some walkways as well as some rails and some support beams. So we're going to set that here as well. All right, then we have this one sprue by itself. It looks like we got maybe some doors. We've got some munitions, some tarps, help give it a little bit more character, some ladders as well. Now the pile of munitions, there's some fuel canisters on there. definitely has a lot of detail to it itself. And it looks like it's designed to sit up like against the side of one of the buildings, or side, like against one of the walls inside, because there is no back to it, and it does have it does have an open floor as well. So it's definitely leaning against something once it's done. And then we have, let's see. Okay, so this is 3 of the same sprue. And this is some supports as well as some flooring as well. And now with the underside of these, there's not a ton of detail, which makes a lot of sense because, you know, players aren't really going to be seeing the undersides of these as far as during gameplay. So, you know, having, you know, the void of detail on the bottom makes a lot of sense there. But I do like the grates that they have on them. Kind of looks like they're designed to have some sort of liquid runoff, or maybe sand spill out when it starts to collect. And then we have this sprue with some damaged barricades, as well as some weapons crates, and it looks like a giant coin almost. If I remember right, that's like a turn marker maybe. It's been quite a while since I've played some Necromunda, so right off the top of my head, I'm a little rusty. Then we got one of the tentacles that we tend to see in some of the terrain kits as well. Now I'm pretty sure that this sprue, yep, this one's from 2017, so it makes sense. I knew it looked familiar, but we'll zoom in on that anyway, just so that way you guys can see what we're looking at. And then we have our actual model sprues. So right here we have, it looks like 2 sprues for the insect walker things. Kind of looks like just like a giant like grasshopper without wings type thing, with the kind of more of like a beetle body that the Nomads ride. And honestly, I think that they look pretty cool. But so it's 2 sprues that are identical for those guys. Let's see. All right, another duplicate sprue. So we have 2 sprues right here. Well, 3 technically. So the one that's duplicate is for Orlocks. Now, I haven't built the Orlocks that I have, so I don't know. I mean, I'll be able to check later, but off the top of my head, I don't know for sure if this is a duplicate generic sprue. And actually, let's check the date on it. So that one's 2018, so yeah, I expect that this is a duplicate sprue there. Where this one for the Nomads shows 2022, so makes perfect sense. But with the Nomads, definitely a lot of details now with the way that their cloaks are, other than the fact that they're really worn. You know, it kind of reminds me of I'm definitely getting some Delac vibes off of them for sure. And then let's actually take a look. All right, so that's a duplicate sprue. And then we have 2 matching sprues for the vehicles as well. Now, honestly, looking at these, there's a lot less to the vehicles than I actually thought there would be. Unless maybe some of the actual terrain sprues include some of the vehicles. But surprisingly, there's not a lot here. As far as like the chassis and stuff like that for those vehicles. And none of the bodies really have any heads already attached. So that means that you're going to be able to, kind of have them be a little bit more modular, so you can have them all looking a little bit more unique as well. Definitely some cool stuff there. And then something we haven't seen in a while from Games Workshop is our blast templates and our flamer templates. So that's pretty cool. I actually didn't know where mine went a while ago, so getting a new set is always a good thing. And this is actually the first set that I've got that's been orange, which I like, because typically, flames are kind of like an orangish, yellowish, reddish color, and the ones that I had before were just a dark red, and so didn't really look very fiery to me. But we'll definitely take a close look at that. And then we have our divider, which shows the same as the cover for the box. Now the back side does give us a good glimpse of all of the kits that are out there that are not with Forge World. And from what I remember, I'm only missing some of the Vansar and the Orlock editions. So definitely some stuff I still need to get. Now, with this being the Ash Wastes and a new terrain overall, we do have a actual mat to play on. So we're gonna go ahead and take that out. Get everything else out of the way. All right. All right, so that is huge. Much larger than I remember most games that I've been playing of Necromunda. It is double-sided, so it looks like basically the same area. One is day, one is night. You got some ground lights on them. That's pretty cool. Typically, when you have a terrain mat like this, usually the other side is basically a very similar but different area. Now, looking under the flap, we have our box of our stack of cards, as well as our stack of dice. On the other side, we have our bases. I'm just going to go and put those back down there because we're not doing anything with them today. And also underneath we have a Necromunda ruler, so that's pretty cool. There's a lot more detail on here than the last few rulers that we've received have been. So I really like that. It gives it a lot more character. Alright, and then we have our assembly guide. Now, for an assembly guide, for something as new as this, I was honestly expecting, the multicolor assembly guides like we're used to, but this one is actually all black and white. I mean, there is a ton of stuff to assemble, so maybe it's just because of the sheer amount of stuff in here is why. Excuse me. At the time of filming, it is almost 1:30 in the morning, so forgive me if I do yawn. So here's the munition thing. So there actually is a base piece that you can get from one of the sprues that covers up the bottom, and then it's just meant to basically sit against one of the walls. And then some of the ladders do need to be assembled in order to actually reach, and it kind of looks like almost like a weather tower or water tower of some sort as well. And then the assembly guide does include a gang list for each group, so that way you can play with it just straight out of the box, as well as their special skills and rules and war gear and things like that. So that's pretty cool. Now, I'm honestly surprised that that's all in that when we have a actual rulebook as well. Now, I have seen some complaints regarding the rulebook, specifically that the rulebook does not have all of the gangs listed in it. And honestly, I'm not really that surprised. Now, one, it takes some time to come up with the rules for each army and how they're going to be doing vehicles and stuff. And I imagine that, you know, over the next, I would say, year to year and a half, we're probably going to see those others released, just that back, you know, individually. And, you know, probably my expectation is either we're going to get new house books that include the rules for these, but I don't think they're going to go that way. You know, I haven't heard anything from GW regarding this, so this is just me speculating, but what I'm predicting is that we're going to end up getting like kind of like the Imperial Armory books that they had a while ago through Forge World, but you know, through GW proper, and you know, those books having or like basically like a specific book that's going to have like some sort of war machines for using in the wastes. You know, they've shown pictures of this land train that's coming soon, as well as, you know, some other creatures and stuff. So, you know, this definitely isn't going to be the end of the vehicles and stuff, and only having the rules for a couple of the gangs, it makes sense in the scheme of things. Yeah, I wish that it included all of them, you know, like the rest of you guys, but at the same time, I understand that why it didn't. And, you know, I definitely expect that they're going to be coming up with a bunch of really cool stuff and releasing all of them in the rulebook now will take away some of the shock value or some of the surprise for when those do get announced. And so I'm expecting that we're going to see some really cool stuff, like, you know, with the Deluxe specifically, you know, they had some like flying kind of robot things. And so I would expect that, you know, they're going to have some sort of like, you know, like hover speeder of some sort to be using in the Ash Wastes. And so maybe something like that. So, you know, definitely something to keep in mind. But, you know, again, I don't know for certain. And Games Workshop did not provide me any information on that. Now back to this, we do have our tokens. And then we have 2 Ash Wastes reference sheets, which appear to be the same on both sides. Or, I mean, they're both the same and have the same information on each side compared to each other. Now with the rulebook, it's a nice, very thick rulebook. I definitely like the look and feel of it. I really like the Ash Wastes logo itself. And so I'm really looking forward to getting here and reading more about it. Now, I have watched the Warhammer Plus Lore Masters where they actually talk about the Ash Wastes and everything. And so that was actually really interesting because it had been a long time since I've actually read any of the lore other than just a couple of the recent novels, and had forgotten how, you know, the planet was really set up, and that most of the planet is completely barren other than, you know, what's in the Hive Cities. And I mean, honestly, the Hive Cities are pretty barren too. I mean, it's just technology and people live there more than anything else, and they're just manufacturing, you know, weaponry and stuff for the Imperium. So it shouldn't be any surprise at all. Now, it looks like we only get a little bit of overall lore and a map. Let's see. Then we get to a box content section, so that gets us to basically page 17, and then 17 or 18 and 19 shows us the box contents of everything assembled and painted, as well as some booby traps and things like that. general principles for gameplay, vision, line of sight. Definitely really like the concept art as well. Out of the two gangs that we have in here, I want to keep calling them war bands just because I'm so much more used to Warcry. So with the two gangs, the Nomads, like I'm not a big fan of their mounts. Like I get why they're creatures for the Nomads, but for the Nomads themselves, I really like their aesthetic. They look really cool. They kind of make me think of like demented Fremen from Dune or something like that. Like just something like Chaos Twisted, a bastardized version of them that is out in Necromunda, basically, looting and pillaging convoys and things like that. And then I really like this logo. Like honestly, I think this icon that they're using would have made for a much cooler logo. They put it on the gang fighters in their weaponry section. I think that looks a lot better than the actual logo for the book. But the logo for the book, it fits more with the look of the aesthetic of the Nomads themselves. And we're just skimming through here. We're not going to go through the actual rules of the game because I know that some of the other YouTubers have already done that. And GW is pretty good about showing some of those as well. I'm mostly looking through here just real quick just to see if anything stands out as something to keep an eye out for. That might be coming soon because from what I understand, this rulebook includes Orlocks, Nomads, and then one of the classic gangs, and I believe it was the Delac that I read. So I'm flipping through to see who that was. And there actually is a section about psychers and using weird powers, psychic duels, setting up a campaign. And I do like that they've set up a overall map for you for selecting the different locations, and those different locations do give different boosts as well. And then we also have our mission section for the campaign as well. And I know like most games that I play are more just fight to the death type of situations more often than not, but having campaigns is a fun way to really engage in the game. All right, so here we got pictures of the Ash Wastes and the the Ash Wastes Nomads and the Orlocks. And let's see if there's anything else in this gallery. Actually, no, there's not. So just flipping through, I didn't see any other gangs besides those two. So it's quite possible that I misunderstood, but let's take a look in here. Let's see if we can find an answer. Let's go to page 42, which is the vehicle characteristics profiles. And so if we do have any new vehicles there for the other groups, we're going to find them there. Let's see. Okay, so that actually doesn't give us anything there. So that's more reading the character cards themselves. Alright, so I'm not finding it right now. It is something I will look into later. But definitely some cool stuff here. I'm really excited for this set. You know, I've always loved Necromunda, the overall aesthetic, and the fact that in all the time that I've played, you know, none of the games I've played have ever ventured outside of the hive itself. Like, I know that there's been some people building, you know, terrain and homebrew stuff for it for a long time, specifically to do that. And, you know, some of this may have even been inspired by some of that that's been around for a while. I honestly have no idea, but the idea of getting out of the hive and still being able to play in this world definitely has me really excited, and at the same time, you know, unlocks some potential for having these types of games outside of Necromunda. And, you know, it's like maybe, you know, these gangs, you know, might actually, some of them might, you know, leave the planet and end up fighting, like maybe on a space station around the planet as well, or like higher up the hive, you know, something more, you know, grandiose. So, you know, there's just a lot of opportunity there, you know, a lot of really cool stuff, or a lot of really good potential for, you know, new stuff. You know, and as far as like the classic gangs go, you know, we're still missing 3 of the original gangs that have yet to come back. And you know, specifically I'm referring to the Scavies, the Ratskins, and the Spires. And with the quality of the models and the kits that we've seen since this was released, I believe in 2017, that quality is so much better than what we had when this game first came out, you know, in the 90s. And, you know, looking at it, where it's grown from, I'm really glad that, you know, they didn't just keep the old style, the old everything, and just, you know, keep reproducing them. You know, that they upped their quality, and, you know, so like all of the games got all of the gangs got overhauled and were redone and looks so much better now. Like Escher, I mean, oh my God, they're one of the best looking gangs that we've had so far, and I absolutely love those models. And, you know, the other kits, like the I believe it's the Maiden, with like the thin veil and stuff. I mean, one of the coolest specialist models that they've come out with too for the game. And so a lot of really cool stuff. So I'm really looking forward to when they do bring Spires back into this. I don't believe we're going to see that anytime soon. If anything, I feel like that maybe the next classic gang that we see be revisited will probably be Ratskins before anything else, just because like I can see them being used as trackers and stuff in the Ash Wastes, but I still don't think that's going to be coming yet. I would expect that we're probably going to get like another kind of like another section like somewhere else in Necromunda that is how we're going to be introducing them back into everything. Now, looking at the cards, we have a couple different types. We have the road section. So like this one, Crater's Shadow, Deep Waste, Iron Crag, Grave Run, income 2d6 credits. Then we have Trade Route, and this one's Shadow's Ridge, Iron Crag, Ash Storm Observatory, trading bonus, add 3d6 times 10 credits to your gang stash. Rating bonus, add 2d6 times 10 credits to your gang stash. And then we go into the tactics cards. Like one is called It'll Hold. Play this tactic when a friendly vehicle loses a HP, the vehicle loses 1 less hit point. So like if you're losing, say 3, use this card. Now that it's only losing 2. So pretty simple to follow there. And then we go into our blank character cards. Now personally what I would probably do is maybe like duplicates of these, so that way or you know, write lightly in pencil so that way it can be easily erased. And you know, that way as things change, you're not having to just create brand new cards all over again. So definitely some cool stuff there. All right, so here are the Nomads themselves. As well as their bug friends. Looking at the number of body parts and based on the pictures, looks like each one of these sprues makes 2 of them. And then here's for the buggies. And again, we have 2 sprues for each of these. And then our Orlocks, which that one is not a new sprue like we found. So here's the sprue with the barricades. Now right here it does show that it's from 2017, so like I suspected, this is a duplicate from previous kits. Here are our blast templates and flamer templates. Some of our exhausts and barricades and things like that, as well as the tarp. And then this here is our floors. This here is our walkways. Turn them over so you see the underside, and you can see some of like the wiring and stuff routing underneath. And then this is our buildings itself. This is the inside where you can see all the extra detail. And then the outside where there's considerably less detail. And really looking forward to giving this game a try. And want to say thank you again to all of our viewers, as well as to Games Workshop. Again, they did provide this ahead of time for the purpose of our video. And you know, our channel would not have hardly any content if it wasn't for their generosity, and so we're definitely very appreciative of that. But likewise, we're just as appreciative for, you know, every one of you that watches the shows, and you know, keep that feedback coming in. You know, if you guys want us to do something different than what we're doing, we're all ears. Be more than happy to you know, look at different ideas and entertain those suggestions. But for tonight, that is it. I do want to thank you again for watching, and I hope you all have a great night. Thank you.